humiliation, um, what that did is it contributed to our needing to cover things up, our needing to lie. I mean, when you did something, and especially, I mean, most cases that I've seen, uh, kids are humiliated by their parents because they didn't think ahead or they didn't, I mean, these are kids. They don't really know how to think ahead, and all they're trying to do on some levels is to please the adults. And they make mistakes. And the trouble with children making mistakes and our adults treating them like they shouldn't be making mistakes is that humiliation factor gets going about a million miles an hour. Now, I understand that parents that were treated like that by their parents will do the same thing to their children, and that's not a conscious thing. It's generally a subconscious thing. It is something that they don't really have any control over on a conscious level. And this, where I'm getting to with this is that self-consciousness in a parent is so important. One of the things that I'd always said that I really didn't want to raise a child or until I was at least comfortable within myself, because I understand how humiliated I was as a child. I was very cognizant growing up about what was going on and what my feelings were about it, and from a very early age. And I remember all of the feelings, and I remember all of the humiliations that happened. I mean, I remember making mistakes and then just being absolutely humiliated by my mother or my stepfather, because I made a mistake, because they thought that would make me learn. But it made me scared, and it made me lie more because I didn't want to get into trouble. Had they handled it differently, had they said, look, Drew, I understand that you make mistakes, and we don't want you to make this one again. So, if you make this kind of mistake again, this will be the consequence. But when you add anger into that what happens is so much humiliation happens for your child that they have to cover it up. I mean, take a look back at your past and understand where you were humiliated in your life, and understand also that through that humiliation, we keep covering things up. Because what happens is our adults, or our parents, or our step-parents, or whatever, humiliate us to the point where we don't want to be what we would consider bad, because what they've done is they've told us that these behaviors are bad by their reaction, and they're not bad. Everything in life has a consequence. Everything does. Teaching your children that is paramount. You have to have that kind of structure in your life. You have to have that traditional understanding that structure has to be there in order to be able to give these kids boundaries. Definitely. But when you give them a boundary of humiliation, all you are doing is creating a person that has no self-confidence, that has to trust in the world around them, that walks on eggshells all the time, around everybody, because they're just worried that they're going to be condemned by their peers, or condemned by their family, or condemned by anybody else in the world. And believe me, humiliation and embarrassment are some of the biggest things for us as kids growing up, to be able to grasp and understand why we do the stuff that we do, the lying, the cheating, the trying to get out of stuff, blame shifting and credit grabbing. Okay, we really need it because we don't have any trust in ourselves. And so as an adult or as a parent, when you humiliate your child via your own anger and impatience, you are stunting the growth. And I've seen parents with their kids go, oh, I don't want them to head down the same road I did. Now, this is when they were like 13 or 14 or 15. These are when they're breaking out on their own. They're trying to figure things out and stuff like that. And not only do the parents still humiliate their children, but Now they're worried because their kids don't talk to them. Oh, my kid doesn't trust me and all of this stuff. And I'm going, well, why would they? When they came to you with some real issues, you got angry. You humiliated them. You told them that they were wrong, that their choices were just stupid. Okay? I don't understand why adults can't get this. Because if you went up to do that with somebody, okay? If somebody that you trust, how about your wife or your husband? Go up to them. Go tell them your dreams and all of that stuff. And when they shoot you down and tell you, well, that's just rubbish, you don't make any money doing that, okay? You take a look at how you're feeling and how shut down that you get with that partner that you have, and how you will avoid being yourself around them because of the level of humiliation that happens from that. Just take a look at your life and understand that somebody else's anger and impatience that reflects back at you and humiliates you because you put a lot of trust in them, you open your heart to them, and then all of a sudden this happened and it shuts them down. Now look at your 14 or 15-year-old daughter or son and understand why they don't trust you. Because you haven't figured your stuff out well enough to be able to allow them to have their stuff. Because really, as parents, all we are advisors. Yeah, we help protect them. We help build the rules that they get to build their lives on. Don't cross the road without looking. We're there to protect them and guide them. We're not there to humiliate them. Okay? If we can get past our own stuff, like I said, become self-conscious, understand that anger and frustration only come from ourselves, and stop placing them, and stop placing the responsibility for our emotions on our children, we can start creating a race of people that are self-confident, that do think before they act, that have the opportunity to make mistakes, as opposed to have to be perfect before they ever get out of pubescence. It would be good, I think, to stop humiliating your kids. Create boundaries that don't have to have anger or frustration involved in them. It's not saying that you can't get angry or frustrated. I certainly have. And I've certainly come back to my kid and said, I'm sorry that I was angry and frustrated. It wasn't you. It was this, and this that I got impatient with, right? And I've certainly had my kid come back to me and say, well, I'm sorry, I was really trying to push your buttons because it pissed me off that, And in that understanding, and in the understanding, one, that adults can make mistakes, because we can, even though we don't like our kids to know that, and being able to be 100% honest with your child creates a self-confidence in your kid. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. They're going to go through puberty. They're going to have some pretty confusing times. The hormones are going to go through the roof. There's going to be tons of stuff there. But if they come to you, stop being angry and figure out how you can truly help this human being. Because that's what they are. All of them. They're smaller, they're less experienced, but they're human beings. They are not your playthings. They are not things that are after you. Okay? Remember, if they are, you probably created it. Oh yeah, okay, that's a pretty big statement. But okay, but they aren't really after you. Okay? There are people out there with mental disorders. There is a ton of stuff out there. So this is not a blanket statement. I'm talking about the general majority of people out there that are very, very unconscious of what they're doing. They don't understand how their anger and frustration humiliates their kids, and they don't understand how that's affecting them. I don't know if there's still lots of guys out there that are so absolutely unconscious. I'm the man of the house. I go out and I work. I come home. You give me my beer, and I'm going to sit in front of the TV. I know that there are people out there like that, and I know that the moms are worried about their kids, and I know that nothing is the ideal situation. There is no such thing as an ideal situation. But the first place that you should be looking to raise your kids is being able to look at yourself and being able to let go of your anger and frustration, being able to start to really understand who you are so that you can be that role model for your child. Because if you are seriously thinking about having a kid, you should be doing lots of self-work. Because once you have the self-work down, once you have self-worth, you can now teach it. But if you don't have self-worth, you can't teach that. There's no way. Your kid sees through the lie. They understand that you're lying. And they know on some level that that's going to happen. And as long as you're using your anger as a tool to humiliate your child into having them do what you think they should be doing, you are creating a race of people that are just as neurotic as the rest of us. That's about it. Bye.